New York City steps into the toilet and pulls the handle. Communism has never worked because it ignores one basic fact about human nature. People making the rules almost never want to live by those same rules themselves. Let's go in depth about that in the piece of garbage Mamdani, who continues to prove communism will never work. You've reached a point where if you like what you hear, please like, comment, and subscribe on your favorite platform. And visit us at our website, DrDaveSavesAmerica.com. In a heat crisis this past week, Mamdani called for others to up their AC to 78 degrees, while major public buildings in New York City were set at 72 and 73, for instance. There was a report that at least 10,000 people suffered a power failure in the city. All the while, Madison Square Garden hosted the Swift-Kelsey wedding, including blocking off streets near the garden on the 4th of July weekend. As I say, I cannot make this stuff up. On the 4th of July, Mamdani gave a speech that proved he is not just anti-Israel, but he is anti-American. This was a day for Americans to come together to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the most successful and diverse country in history. His failure to acknowledge this proves what a low-level scumball that he is. The latest failure is New York City has implemented a 2-year rent freeze. That's correct. In the past, New York City has periodically implemented 1-year freezes. This applies to roughly 1 million rent-stabilized apartments across the city. The freeze applies to leases up for renewal between October 1, 2026 and September 30th, 2027, meaning tenants in these rent-regulated units will not face any hikes during this time frame. Guess what? Speaking as a landlord and a homeowner, costs for me go up every year. Actually, about every month. Why be a landlord if you cannot recover your increasing costs? Some of these rent-stabilized apartments are as low as $800 a month, which is way lower than even the national average, about $1,660 a month, in one of the most expensive cities on the planet. This invites abuse as families occupy apartments on a serial basis. And remember, this is not income-based. I know very well-off people living in rent-controlled apartments in New York City while enjoying beach condos in Miami. That means people are not paying their fair share. This is the most convoluted form of communism if there ever was one. Also, there's a real shortage of so-called affordable housing in New York City. This insane policy will ensure that no new housing will be built. After all, it is already one of the most expensive places in America to build housing. Even a fifth grader could tell you the only way to lower prices is to let capitalism work naturally, without gross taxation, corruption, and red tape. That's why this housing is not affordable, not because of landlords. By the way, this is not an argument about capitalism being perfect. I'm just exposing the lies behind communism. Sad details continue to come out about the background of the New York City area congressional candidates that made it through the Dem primary. Given the far-left biases of much of New York City, these total jerks are likely to be elected. Like Mamdani, they are anti-American and anti-Semitic. Hey, it's not all negative. New York is still our blue-haired cousin to the Northeast. I do want to give a shout-out to the Times Square ball drop. This event, traditionally reserved for New Year's Eve, dropped 8 times to honor the 8 time zones of the United States in celebration of the 250th anniversary of America. There are at least a few people left in New York City who get it right. But it seems not many conservatives are going to be left in the city, as anyone with knowledge and conservative values flees the city. Talking about not wanting to take their own medicine, even rich liberals who may have a leisure vacation condo in New York have a primary residence outside this blue city to avoid the gross taxation. Recently, data put forward Hey, ready for this? Of all people, Dem Senator from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, have illustrated the Dem Party's descent into the bottom in multiple states. The stats are stunning. It is projected that the losses in wealth and jobs totaling $9.3 billion in New York, $9.5 billion in California, and $2.5 billion in Illinois have left those states, have not surrendered to that dangerous ideology. The underlying statistics are stunning. Half of New York City's remaining population is on Medicaid. This is double the national average. 21% are on SNAP benefits. The city went from a surplus to a deficit. The deficits are now expected to compound. The stats for the states of California and Illinois are very similar. My continuing demand is that all of us rational taxpayers refuse to have a penny of our federal tax dollars go to bail out these failed states. Let them correct it on their own. That will cause rationality to kick in at some point. At least it should happen, hopefully before rock bottom hits. Repeating my persistent proposal that programs like Medicaid and SNAP be exclusively funded at the state level, this will reduce fraud and bring about reform more quickly to these failed programs. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your feedback and concerns. And remember, you can always like, comment, and subscribe right below. And if you've got any ideas for a specific episode or topic, be sure to let us know in the comments. And we generally not only read all the comments, we try and take action based on them. And you can also see us at our website, drdavesavesamerica.com.